So really, we just do a quick training, long or whatever, and in a day or so, or sooner, um, you do your wings. So the only reason we start doing the training is because some of the points are talking ones, and for me to teach it to you, and then you to regurgitate it to me at the same time, it just became stupid. So there's a couple tasks I just have you go over that are part of the wings to make sure you're set. So we'll try and switch them up. One flying, one non-flying. Not. So the first one, we'll do the OG hover power check. Yeah. So basically what you're trying to do is, in the Huey world, they didn't really have a, I can't remember what their PVC card looked like. Blank, hold on. OG hover torque, no go-go. Like in a Blackhawk says you have OGE power. Hear it. Yeah, if you pull less than a certain torque, then you have OGE power, but really it gives you a predicted, it'll say, hey, if you're flying out of ground effect, you're going to hover at this, you get your max torque available, which is this, so today it says 39 and 50, whatever. So, if you didn't have a performance planning card, you would have to know if you have OGE hover power, and that's out of ground effect. And that is done. You need OGE hover power for things like NOE flight. You need OGE for doing any kind of fast roping, spies, fries, sling loading, masking, unmasking, any of that kind of stuff. You're supposed to have OGE hover power. If you didn't have a performance planning card, you can do a maneuver to figure it out. And what that is you come up 50 feet, you do a left pedal turn. You know why you do left? Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's your power pedal. You're going against the torque on the left, so you have to use more power. So if you're going to go up and test to see if you have maneuverability, you're going to go up there and do a left. That's going to eat up the most amount of power, going OGE, doing a left turn, and depending on the winds and all that. Yes, exactly. So you want to find worst case. Alright, so go ahead and pop on up. Really, you're just trying to stay within a disc. Not easy. Of your own position when you do the turn. But it's hard to do in DCS, whether you're a rift guy, non-rift guy, track IR, all that stuff takes into account. So really the big thing is going to a place where you have references, then going up to 50 feet, turning nice and slow, you don't have to rush it. Controlling the aircraft, and determining, excuse me, yes, if you have OG hover power. It used to be a task that we just did an out of ground effect hovering turn. It was a beast of a task. It's one of the hardest things to do. Yeah. So then I found a task in the ATM that actually has purpose, and that's why we have OG hover power check. On a gunship, let me look at my performance planning. You probably... kind of hot today, all that kind of stuff. You'll have it, but it's certainly not easy. And the key to this task is kind of just watching your altitude when you do this maneuver, because it will climb and sink on you. Yep. Just take your time. Nice and slow and controlled, that way it doesn't climb too fast on you. And then if you did get to some weird winds, because winds can affect the tail rotors, you wouldn't rush into that. Don't worry about what the number specifically is here. I mean, in reality, you would take notice, but that torque gauge is such a bitch to read. Sucks. All right, so you're good at, yeah, you're good at that maneuver. That was perfect. All right. So the next one, let's go to the F10 map. No problem. Take your time. I gotta find a way to do an LZ. All right, I'm just looking around here. All right, I put a spot onto the map to the east pretty far. So, zoom in on that guy. So, in DCS, or actually, sorry, in life, there's a task called Selecting Landing Zone, Pickup Zone, Holding Area, Reconnaissance. So, we're just going to ask you to pick an LZ and be able to tell me a few things about it. And there's some tricks you can use in DCS and whatnot. But in the real world, the task says determining the landing zone is suitable for operations, provide accurate, detailed information to support a unit if applicable, and basically perform map, photo, visual reconnaissance. So let me go to this. Really what this talks about is trying to set an LZ. If I do an air assault into a place, I might not get to go see that. I probably won't get to go see the LZ. I'm going to look at maps, I'm going to look at photographs, I'm going to try and get all the information I can to pick an LZ and determine its suitability. If I'm lucky, somebody might fly by it sometime. A ground unit might be able to look at it. It just depends. So there's three things to consider when picking an LZ. Tactical, technical, meteorological. Don't worry about memorizing any of this stuff. Meteorological, weather. So you don't really have to, you just want the basics. So tactical is determining if the LZ will accomplish the ground commander's mission. Aviation, our one job is to support the ground commander, the troops. We do a lot of things to support ourselves and support them, but our primary goal is supporting ground commander, especially in an air assault battalion, especially in a gun battalion or gun unit. That is all we're there for. So we try to pick the best LZ that allows the troops to do what they need to do. So you want to pick an LZ. Really what a helicopter is meant to do is drop troops off far away. They move into the battle. We drop them off out of sound, out of sight. They can move out, do patrols, go to the battle, do what they need to. But if you got to do a raid, you'll land like right on top of the battle. Maybe like right on top of the objective. If you're going to go take something down quickly, you might land close. So like you want to make an LZ that's not too far away. So it says in the ATM, reduce troops fatigue, consider the distance of the PZ to the target, and the kind of equipment and the method of travel they have to use. Are they going to be moving through the swamp? All that kind of stuff. It takes them... Ah, shit, man. You could drop them off. If you're just dropping a LRP unit off or unit's going to go off a patrol, then you want to drop them off kind of out of sight, out of sound, and then they move into the area. They could spend weeks out there patrolling. If you're trying to get a raid or you're trying to attack a specific target, you might only want to be a few kilometers. If you're trying to get the target hit that night, you don't want them trying to sprint with all their gear on for miles to the target. It really mins and maxes. Depends on what the objective is and how long they have to hit it. And then the security, let me see here. Support of the unit normally provides. Consider cover and concealment, key terrain. So basically, first, if we want to attack those troops to the east, assuming all of these villages are friendly and all that, landing in the middle of a village is probably not ideal. But if you knew the bad guys were in that village and you wanted to land in this one, what kind of terrain? Maybe there's a hill key terrain feature, maybe 2 key terrain features blocking me. I come in, I drop them on a hill. They probably couldn't hear us, see us. How far the troops got to go? Is it nice terrain for them to move on? All that kind of stuff. And really in DCS, we just kind of try and pick an object, or LZ, close enough where our guys will kind of shoot at them. Now they seem to move a little bit more and engage, so we're getting to be able to fly a little bit farther away. Before we used to just have to land in the middle of them. It was a shit show. Now I can drop like a kilometer or two away. I don't get shot up as much. The guys kind of moving and shoot, and it's working all right. So that's kind of the tactical. It's, hey, does this support the ground guy? DCS, we find LZs where we don't get shot at too much, and our troops move and engage. The technical is kind of what we do. That's determining the size of the LZ, the suitability of it. So ruts, fences, poles, kind of obstacles, that kind of stuff falls under suitability. Surface conditions, obstacles, LZ hazards, vegetation, what kind of stuff's in there. How many aircraft I can fit in there, the size of the element I can bring in there, that's the aircraft, sorry. What formations, all that kind of stuff. So in DCS, you have some tools to help you out. I can start with the map, and you see your altitude on the top left where your mouse is. It says 89 meters. So I use my measuring tool, and I measure across this LZ a little bit. It's 0.22 kilometers, so not huge. Then I move my mouse along, and I see how much altitude change I have. Move it left, right, up and down. And I'm in meters. And there's some big numbers towards the top. It looks like it drops off down there, but generally that whole thing's pretty flat. And I measure it, and I determine what 0.22 kilometers is 200 and some meters. I can, technically you only need 50 meters in aircraft. We can land with even less. So I'd say I could fit 4 aircraft in there, if not at least one rotor disc is 60 feet. If we land a disc apart, that's like 100. I could probably land easily 4 aircraft in there. I could do it in a stag formation. I hit my sat view, my altitude, all that kind of stuff, map view, and I'm just looking for contour lines. I'm looking at the trees, buildings, just using whatever tools I can, measuring the width. It's only 40 meters wide, so it's kind of going to be a long stag, whatnot. And I'm just using those tools and trying to figure out best approach. Hold on, let me see if I can see the outside view. Yeah, I fit 4 aircraft stag. I just keep using that measuring tool, and I'm kind of going from the building to the trees, just swagging it. So it's maybe 50 meters. So I think I can fit at least 4 aircraft in a stag formation. We would look at predominant winds, what kind of approach we do. We'd probably approach from west to east, straight into that nice long axis. You like the long axis, what's good to land on. You know, how easy is it to navigate? That's kind of key, because if you can't find the thing, it sucks. We got, big rivers, roads, all kinds of stuff to get us in there. So in DCS, all you need to be able to do is look at this thing, kind of get a good estimate of the size. If it's flat, how many aircraft can I fit in there? What kind of formation? Nothing too crazy. So, hey, will it complete my objectives? What kind of aircraft can I get in there? And then the meteorological is like, hey, is the weather suck there? Is it high altitude? What are the winds? Here, if you know basically what the winds are, that helps. Oh, I gotta help with the groceries. I'll be back in a couple minutes. Alright, and then you still there? And then finally, like if you were doing high altitude, like 8,000 feet or 6,000, like can the gunships operate? Would the slicks be able to carry heavy loads? All that kind of stuff. We don't really do a lot of that. So basically just the basic stuff for DCS. You know, is it in a good place? Does the LZ look suitable? And what approaches should I take in and how many can I fit? Alright. I'll they're on the wings map, I'll give you an LZ. I'll say, hey, tell me about this LZ. Say, hey, maybe a couple aircraft. I'll approach from the south. Nothing crazy. And then when you get there, we'll talk about doing high recons, low recons, which you fly over the LZ. You might do a pattern around it, maybe one high, maybe one low. If it's not doing air assault world where we plan and we do a straight in, we don't orbit, we just go straight in land. If you're doing like medevac or QRF or a case like this where it's not tactically necessary for you just to put it in there right away. Yeah, you'll go in and look at it, see what kind of obstacles in there, see what your best approach is, all that kind of stuff. Let's see. All right, and that'll be that task. That and along with that task is navigationing, talking about pilotage, and all that is navigating using the map, looking at big things, correlating your position to the map and where things are to the map. So basically, being able to pick a route, say, all right, I'm going to fly along this road. There'll be a ridge out my left. I'll be looking for these power lines, this town, this town. Just kind of how you're going to navigate yourself. Being able to navigate, just kind of looking at on the F10 map and outside, being able to correlate where things are. Normally, you have a little icon on the F10 map that tells you where to go, but if you're a flight lead or a gunship and you can't be flipping to the map a lot, being able to mentally give yourself a pretty simple route there. Like for that objective, you just kind of follow the main highway that's north of the airfield all the way down in there. You would use that as a major reference and some hills and some valleys in between. That's called pilotage. And then there's dead reckoning, but we don't really mess with that. So those are the real two talking. That is where you're just time distance heading. I fly direction for time. Then I time's up. I turn. Yeah. Practice that somewhat in the real world, not a lot. Alright, that'll be simple. What are the other tasks? So, go ahead and can you knock out a running landing? Whatever you want. Above ETL is usually good. But the ATM says recommends above ETL, but it says basically if you're moving, you pass. The big things that get... No problem. Okay. The big things that get people in trouble is when they hit the ground. One, try and hit flat. So that last few feet, they usually just dump their collective. They rush it. They have a beautiful slow angle in. Just ride that in. You don't have to force the last few feet. When you do touch the ground, you don't have to slam the collector down because if your nose twists a lot, you're supposed to stay within 10 degrees. In a real aircraft, you would catch a skid and flip over. So DTS, if you dump the skid, the torque comes off and the aircraft kind of turns. So just get that nice shallow approach angle in. Don't rush it. And just be real smooth with flight controls once you touch down. Looks like you're screaming in there. Basically do that, do it a little slower. And just keep that heading. If you hit the center line, pointing towards the center line, just try and maintain that. Well, yeah. There you go. You noticed you hit a little nose high, so you caught the back of the skids, but it wasn't bad where it really jerked you around. Alright. What else do people get in trouble with? I'm not worried about autos. You guys practice those a lot. Slopes suck. I don't really even like doing them in this game. Did all the talking points. Feel like I'm missing one. Oh yeah. Yeah, you're probably able to do sling loads. Terrain for like decels, the things that get people in trouble is the sinking or them doing it too quickly. So nice smooth terrain flights where you're not climbing or sinking into the ground, or you get to the end and you know some people run out of power because they do it so quick and they pull the rotor back in, the aircraft shakes. So try and be smooth on those. Other than that, all your maneuvers look good. So you shouldn't struggle with that. So yeah, probably be able to knock that out if you're around later tonight, or I don't know, you're probably busy tomorrow, but if not, tomorrow, the next couple days, I'm free all week. But it'll go by quick because, yeah, all your maneuvers look fine. Just practice using the map tools and kind of looking at an LZ. Alright, I gotta go help my wife do something, and I'll be back. Anytime. Do I push you back up with those guys? Oh.
You were moved. I repeat, you were moved. Over. User joined your channel.
How's it going, guys? Not too shabby.